It is story time again, dear listeners, and I feel I need to address one aspect of this story a little deeper, as so many are getting confused, which is understandable and actually a good thing, believe it or not. I will explain. So there are two gnomes. Their names are Santa and Tea Tree, and they're both good gnomes. They're not vampire overlords, but they are very different gnomes. Santa Rello is a calm water gnome, and Mr. Tea Tree is a stormfire gnome. So you can see they are very different, even though they are both members of the Ruby Alliance. Tea Tree is holding a lot of anger at the moment, as most empaths can probably tell. However, that is understandable. He has been lied to, not only by the Overlord minions, but also by those of his own tribe. That feels like betrayal to a Stormfire gnome. Although the ones in his own tribe were really rhinoceros gnomes, a very devious kind of gnome whose loyalties actually lie elsewhere, shall we say. Holding anger is not a bad thing for a Stormfire gnome, for they use that anger through transmutation gnome magic as empowerment, drive, resilience, focus, and dynamic righteous action. The reshuffle and restructure that is taking place on planetary and cosmic levels affects all structures, including the political field, across the entire village. So infiltration and corruption from the overlords, combined with cosmic and galactic forces, equals a shake-up at momentous levels. Mr. Tea Tree is a business gnome, first and foremost, and a very good one at that. He is unhijackable within that level. However, his defenses are down when he does not have the knowledge needed. Without knowledge, he cannot strategize, which he is a genius at. Indeed, firestorm gnomes are genius gnomes, don't you know? We use the terms stormfire or firestorm interchangeably to explain these gnomes, as the Fae use both names, but the point is, these gnomes are geniuses. Therefore, Mr. Tea Tree is somewhat hijackable regarding matters he does not hold knowledge for, such as health. A threat to health and the economy equally, and the measures with which to take as resolution and solution would potentially outflank him and make him somewhat hijackable, which is exactly what happened in this story. Having said this, once knowledge sets in and the ability to strategize is then accessible, then this would be unraveled and set to rights. Now, Santa is very different. He has the same goals, but has a different way of getting there. He does not have the ruthlessness or the business acumen or the strategic genius. Neither does he have the level of love and support from the Fae community that Mr. Tea Tree has. However, Santa does have intelligence, compassion, groundedness, patience, common sense, and understanding. And in many ways, the calm water gnome would always be the better top banana grower in the kingdom. However, in a hijacked village setting, the stormfire gnome, hot-headed and impulsive though he may be, is the better gnome for the job at hand. So Santa may be most welcomed by the Fae community. but he stands in truth as a potential second in command. For a while, anyway. The wild card storm creator is still the one needed at the top of the banana pile. Eventually, the softer, more stable, more rational, but less dynamic calm water gnomes can step in. So at first, the little battles between Santa and Tea Tree were actually quite real, played out on both the world stage for all the Fae to see and behind closed doors. Yet when Tea Tree realized the ability to direct those with evil intent through false screens such as they themselves provide, his genius strategizing allowed him to see that he could do the same. However, this had to be delivered under multiple false screens. For do not forget that the vampires are also psychic and master strategists, or should we say, master manipulators themselves. So, it had to be a guessing game. Real conflict mixed with the Shakespearean-level deliverance of the false screen. This misleads the genuine Fae also. So those who say the battle is real are correct, and those who say it is staged are also correct. 1 minute friends and colleagues fighting the same battle, the next minute infighting and slander, no honor amongst thieves. With, at times, the calm water gnome not quite knowing what the stormfire gnome is actually doing. It had to be this way, for you cannot fight the wizard behind the curtain unless you are behind a curtain yourself. We repeat, for this is of most import to the Fae. It had to be this way, for you cannot fight the wizard behind the curtain unless you are behind a curtain yourself. So you can see why the Fae's confusion is a good thing in a sense, for it means that pretense and play acting has succeeded in drawing in the audience to a world of make-believe seeming real. For when the stage fighter takes hold of the neck of his co-actor on stage, does the strangulation not look real? Who is to know that it is the one being strangled that controls the movements of the other's hands around their throat, which are passive? The actor's toolkit is full to the brim and must be so. For the actor and the magician are one, if they know how to embody the thespian and present both comedy and tragedy. The masks never come off until the curtain call, and they take their bow to rapturous applause and standing ovation. So too will it be so in this story. For now, it is the time for the stories to rise within the consciousness of the Fae and the gnomes alike, as everything changes. I am Magenta Pixie, and thank you for listening.